Hey all, welcome to CBSE's first personalized chapter model tuition. So today we are gonna discuss some questions from our chapter 6, that is tissues. Yes. So the first question is dash is not found in xylem tissues. So the options are sieve tubes, xylem parenchyma, tracheids, and vessels. And the correct answer is sieve tubes. Okay, say you have to carefully read the question. What is asked? Which is not found in xylem tissues. Okay, rest all are seen in the xylem, right? Xylem parenchyma, tracheids, vessel, all these are parts of xylem tissue, where seed tube is not a part of the xylem tissue. So the correct answer over here is answer A, or option A, that is sieve tubes. And this is very important. You have to study which are the parts of xylem tissue, which are the parts of phloem tissue. So it's very, very important. Now, second question is, which of the following is a connective tissue? Connective tissue means from the name itself, it's clear it is connecting something, right? So over here, option A is ligament, option B is tendon, option C is blood, and option D is all of the above. So we know that ligament, tendon, blood, all these are connective tissue. So over here, option D is the correct answer. That is all of the above. And the third question is, the size of the stem increases in width due to option A is apical meristem, option B intercalary meristem, option C primary meristem, and option D is lateral meristem. And the correct answer is lateral meristem. So it is lateral meristem which helps in the increase of width. Okay. Yes, so the stem is increasing in width with the help of lateral meristem. So again, this is important. You have to study the function of apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and lateral meristem, where it is seen what is the function which helps in increasing height, which helps in increasing the height between the nodes, which is seen in between the internodes, and all are very important. So you have to go through it. So over here, correct answer is option D, that is the lateral meristem, which helps in increasing the width of the stem. The fourth question is, which of these components of blood fight infections? And the options are option A RBC, option B WBC, option C platelets, and option D is serum nerve cell. And the correct answer is option B, white blood cells. We all know that, right? They act as a soldiers in our body, right? Whenever a foreign material is entering our body, it is them who fight against that particular foreign body. Now the fifth question is, node of Ranveer are found in. And options are option A nerve cell, option B liver cell, option C platelets, and option D all of the above. And the correct answer is nerve cell, isn't it? We have heard this part in nerve cell, right? Node of Ranveer we can see in the nerve cell. So the correct answer is nerve cell or neuron. Sixth question is, cartilage is not found in. Option A is nose, option B is ear, option C is kidney, option D is larynx. So we know that cartilage is movable, right? So it is seen in nose, we know in the tip it is seen, in the ear, in the pinna it is seen, now in larynx also it is seen. What about kidney? It is an organ which is seen inside our body. So cartilage is not found in kidney. So the correct answer over here is option C, kidney. Seventh question is, name types of simple tissue. So the simple permanent tissue is of three types, that is parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma, where this parenchyma is further divided into arenchyma and chlorenchyma. So this is very, very important. Question will be asked, which are the different types of simple tissue? So it is parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. They are the three different types of simple permanent tissue, and this parenchyma is further divided into arenchyma and chlorenchyma. And the eighth question is, name the following: the tissue that form the inner lining of our mouth and the tissue that connects muscle to bone in humans. So the tissue that form the inner lining of our mouth is option A, that is epithelial tissue. Okay, epithelial tissue is the correct answer. Now tissue that connects a muscle to bone in human being is tendon. Again, this type of questions are important. You will get for name the following. It will be asked. Okay, where is this tissue found? Okay, so question will be asked. Again, this type of questions are very important. So the tissue that form the inner lining of our mouth is epithelial tissue, and the tissue which connects muscle to bone in human is tendon. And the ninth question is, which tissue makes up the husk of coconut? So the husk of coconut, we know that it is very rough or very rigid, we can say. So it is made up of which type of tissue? Obviously, it is sclerenchyma. Okay, so this husk of a coconut is made up of sclerenchyma tissue, and it is a permanent tissue whose cells are dead and they are long, narrow, as the walls are thickened due to lignin. Okay, their walls are very, very narrow, and these tissue make the husk very, very hard and thick. Okay, the husk is very hard and thick, right? It's very difficult for us to tear it with our hands. Very hard they are. So it is made up of dead cell, which is the sclerenchyma tissue. And the 10th question is, what are meristematic and permanent tissue? So meristematic tissue, it is a dividing tissue which is responsible for plant growth, and it is classified as apical, lateral or intercalary meristem. And the permanent tissue which is formed by the meristematic tissue cells, they lose their ability to divide and they differentiate into permanent tissue with specific shape and function. So this meristematic tissue, they are actively dividing cells. Okay, they are the one which is responsible for plant growth and all. Okay, so later on what happened to this meristematic tissue is they get differentiated. Okay, differentiated means they lose their ability to divide further. They'll acquire a permanent shape. So at that stage we call it as permanent tissue. The stage where the meristematic tissue lost the ability to divide, we call them as permanent tissue, because they acquired a permanent shape and they have a specific function to do also. Okay, so this is the difference between meristematic and permanent tissue. And the 11th question is, give 3 features of cardiac muscle. So cardiologist, we know that cardia means it's something related to heart. So heart which pump blood throughout the body, it is made up of cardiac muscles, and the 3 features of cardiac muscles are, they are involuntary. We can't control it according to our will, right? We can't control it. I can say like, okay, heart, just stop for a moment or start functioning now, just pause. I can't say that, okay, because it is involuntary. I can move my hands according to my will, isn't it? I can move my head, that is possible, but not my heart, right? It's not possible. They are made up of cardiac muscle which is involuntary and they cannot be controlled according to our will. And cardiac muscle, they are cylindrical, okay, they are cylindrical and they are branched. Uninucleate. Uninucleate means they have only one nucleus, okay, one nucleus can be seen. Now, cardiac muscle, they show rhythmic contraction and relaxation throughout life. Okay, throughout the life, we can see a rhythmic contraction and relaxation in case of this cardiac muscles. The 12th question is, what are the functions of stomata? So what is stomata? We know that it is seen in leaf which helps in the exchange of gases and all. So stomata, they are small pores that are seen on the surface of leaf, and the function of stomata is like they'll be allowing the exchange of gases like carbon dioxide and oxygen with the atmosphere, and they also helps in transpiration. Transpiration means the loss of water in the form of vapor from the aerial parts of the leaves. Okay, so from the aerial parts of the leaves or plant, if water has been lost in the form of vapor, we call it as transpiration. Okay, from the leaf and all, water will be lost in the form of water vapor. We call it as transpiration. So these are the functions of stomata. They help in the exchange of gases like carbon dioxide and oxygen, and transpiration also take place through the stomata. So these are the 2 functions of stomata. And the 13th question is, name the following. That is tissue that transport food in plants, tissue that store fat in our body, connective tissue with a fluid matrix, tissue present in the brain. So this is important, very important question will be asked from this part. So the tissue that transport food in plants, so tissue that transport food in plants is phloem, and phloem helps in the transportation of food that is manufactured in the leaves to other parts of the plant. We know that leaf is called as a kitchen of the plant, and the food that is manufactured in the leaf is transported to other parts with the help of the phloem. And the B part of the question is tissue that store fat in our body. So the tissue which store fat in our body is adipose tissue. See, this is adipose tissue. Okay, the tissue which store fat in our body, we call it as adipose tissue. So adipose tissue is found below the skin. We all know that excess fat is stored below the skin, and between the internal organs. So the cell of this tissue are filled with fat globules which act as an insulator. We know that penguin, polar bear, they all are very fat or bulky. Why? Because they live in cold region and they require an insulator. They need to keep themselves warm. Okay. Next, the C part of the question is connective tissue with a fluid matrix. So connective tissue with a fluid matrix is blood, because blood is having the ability to flow throughout our body, right? So blood flows to transport oxygen, food, hormones and waste materials. Next, tissue that is present in brain. So the tissue that is present in brain is nervous tissue, and the brain, spinal cord and nerves are all composed of nervous tissue, and the cells of these tissue we call them as nerve cells or neurons. The 14th question is, how does the cork act as a protective tissue? So cork, it is the outer protective layer of the bark of a tree. We discussed what cork is and all in the fundamental unit of life chapter, right? What is cork? It was from the, it was the cork cell that was first identified by the Robert Hooke and all was discussed. So cork, we all know it is seen in the bark of a tree and it is an outer protective layer. Okay, and the cork cells are dead and compactly packed with no intercellular space, and their cell walls are coated with waxy substances like suberin, which will not be allowing water and gases to pass through them. Okay, and it protects the plant against mechanical injury and will also be preventing the loss of water by evaporation. So we know that cork is dead cell and it is seen in the outer layer of a tree. It is seen in the bark of a tree and they are coated with a waxy substance called as suberin. Okay, so when there is a waxy coating, obviously the exchange or the passage of water and gases will not be allowed, and they'll be protecting the plant from all sort of mechanical injury. Next, write the difference between cartilage and bone. The 15th question is to write the difference between cartilage and bone. So cartilage, we all know that we can move this cartilage. We can move our pinna. Why? Because they are soft and flexible. What about bone? I can't move it, right? It's not possible. So they are hard and inflexible. Now cartilage, they are non-porous. Okay, there is no pores in it, but bone, it is porous. And cartilage, there is no blood vessels, but in case of bone, blood vessels are present. And in cartilage, matrix, it is made up of protein, but in case of bone, the matrix is made up of calcium and magnesium salts. So this is the difference between cartilage and bone. And the 16th question is, differentiate between striated, unstriated and cardiac muscle on the basis of their structure and site or location in the body. So striated muscles, they are light and dark bands present. Okay, in case of striated muscle, we know that there is dark and light bands like this present, and they are multi-nucleated. More than one nucleus can be seen, and they are voluntary movement. Okay, so they are seen in the parts of the body which we can move according to our will, and they are elongated, cylindrical and unbranched. In case of unstriated muscle, no striations can be seen in them. They are uninucleate, that is only one nucleus can be seen in them. They are involuntary, we cannot move them according to our will, so they are seen in the walls of organs, vessels and all. They are very smooth. Okay, and they are long, spindle shape and unbranched in case of unstriated or smooth muscle. Next is cardiac muscle. So in case of cardiac muscle, striations are present. They are uninucleate and involuntary and cylindrical and branched. Okay, that is the peculiarity of cardiac muscle, and this is very, very important, a sure question. Okay, the difference between striated, smooth and cardiac muscle is a short question. And the 17th question is, how many types of tissue are found in animal? Name the different types. So animals have four main types of tissue, that is, there is epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. Where epithelial tissue, it forms protective covering. Okay, epithelial tissue, they form protective covering. Connective tissue, they will be providing support and they'll be binding other tissues. And muscular tissue, it will be facilitating movement through contraction. And nervous tissue, it will be receiving processes and transmit signal. So these are the functions of different tissue. So epithelial tissue, they act as a protective covering. Connective tissue, they'll be providing support and they'll be binding other tissues. And muscular tissue, they'll be facilitating movement through contractions, and nervous tissue, it will be receiving and it will be processing and transmitting the signals. 18th question is to differentiate between voluntary and involuntary muscles by giving one example for each. So voluntary muscle, they are attached to bones and they can be moved according to one's own consciousness or will. And they are long, cylindrical and multinucleate, and the example is muscle in limbs. And involuntary muscles, they are attached to visceral organs, that is internal organs, and they function without conscious control. We can't control them according to our will. They are uninucleate and often spindle shape. Okay, this is the spindle shape. And they are seen in heart muscle. So that is about involuntary muscle or smooth muscle. And the 19th question is, what are the major functions of blood? So blood is a connective tissue with several functions, like it transports oxygen, nutrients, hormones and waste products. It regulates body temperature by distributing heat. It will be protecting against the disease through white blood cells, and it will be aiding in wound healing, and they contain platelets for blood clotting. Okay, so we know that blood is the connective tissue which helps in the transportation of all the material throughout our body. Materials like oxygen, nutrients, hormone, waste products, all these are transported to various parts of the body with the help of this blood. They also protect us from various diseases. We know that there is white blood cells. Okay, so they'll be acting as soldiers or a defense mechanism which will be protecting our body from all sort of diseases. And then in blood there is platelets which act as a clotting factor, which helps in the clotting of blood so that the loss of blood can be prevented. Now the 20th question is, why are plants and animals made up of different types of tissues? Very easy question, right? So plants and animals are two different types of organisms. We know that plants are stationary at a place. What about animals? They wander here and there, right? So plants are autotrophic organisms and they prepare their own food by photosynthesis. Moreover, plants are stationary or they are fixed organisms and they'll not be consuming much energy. So most of the tissues of plants are supportive. Okay, most of their function is supportive in order to support the plant. And most of these tissues such as xylem, phloem, sclerenchyma and cork are dead tissue. That is, they do not contain living protoplasm, because their function is for supporting. So most of them are dead in nature. In case of animals, they are heterotrophic organisms. That is, they don't prepare their own food. They depend on plants for their food. So they have to move in search of food. Not only plants, they depend on other organisms for food. So they have to move or they have to wander here and there for food, mate and shelter. So they require more energy comparing to that of plants. So their tissue contain living protoplasm. Okay, so there are some tissues in plants which will be dividing throughout their life, and they'll be dividing for growth and reproduction of plants. And in contrast to plants, growth in animal is uniform. So in case of plants, the energy requirement is very less and they are stationary at our place. So most of the cells are supportive in nature. In case of animals, they depend on other organisms for food. They have to wander here and there for food, mate and shelter and all. So more energy is required in them. 21st question is differentiate between parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. So parenchyma, they are living cell which is found in young and soft parts in the plant body, and they possess very thin cell wall around them. Okay, the cell wall seen around them is very thin, and there is space between the cell. There is intercellular spaces and they store the prepared food. In case of collenchyma, they are living cell that is found in leaves, petioles and in parts of young stem. And the cells are very much specialized and they have only little intercellular space. Okay. Yes, the intercellular space is very small. and they'll be providing flexibility and mechanical support to plants. In case of sclerenchyma, they are dead and they are present only in mature parts of the plant, and they are specialized cells. They also don't have intercellular spaces, and they are very hard in nature. And as they are hard in nature, their primary function is to providing mechanical strength to plants. So this is very important. You should be aware of the function of each of them. Where parenchyma, they'll be storing the prepared food, where collenchyma will be providing flexibility and mechanical support to plants. Sclerenchyma, they'll be giving mechanical strength to the plants. And this 22nd question is differentiate between meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. So answer is meristematic tissue, they are undifferentiated cells, always living cells, and they consist of only one type of cell, and hence they are simple tissues and they can divide. In case of permanent tissue, they are generally differentiated cells and they can be non-living, that is sclerenchyma, or they can be living, that is parenchyma. And they can be simple or complex, that is they can be made up of more than one type of cell. If they are made up of more than one type of cell, then we call as complex, and they cannot divide further. So this is also important, the difference between meristematic and permanent tissue. So meristematic tissue, they are actively dividing ones. Permanent tissue, they are differentiated one, they will not divide further. 23rd question is describe the structure and function of different types of epithelial tissue. So epithelial tissues are of following types: simple squamous epithelium, stratified squamous epithelium, columnar epithelium, and cuboidal epithelium. So simple squamous epithelium, they are present in cell lining, blood vessels, or lung alveoli, where the transportation of substances occur through a selectively permeable surface, and there is a simple flat kind of epithelium. So simple squamous epithelium, they are present in the lining of blood vessels or lung alveoli, where the transportation of substances happen through a selectively permeable membrane. In case of stratified squamous epithelium, the skin epithelial cells are arranged in many layers in order to prevent wear and tear, and they are arranged in pattern of layers, and the epithelium is called as stratified squamous epithelium. We know that our skin is arranged in layers in order to prevent wear and tear. That is the stratified squamous epithelium. In case of columnar epithelium, where absorption and secretion occur as in the inner lining of intestine, these tall epithelial cells are present, and this columnar epithelium facilitate movement across epithelial barrier in the respiratory tract. The columnar epithelium is having cilia, and which are hair-like projection on the outer surface of epithelial tissue, and these cilia can move, and their movement will be pushing the mucus forward in order to clear it, and this type of epithelium we call it as ciliated columnar epithelium. Yes, so ciliate columnar epithelium, they are seen where the absorption and secretion is taking place, like in the intestine and all, it is seen where the absorption and secretion is taking place. In case of respiratory tract also, columnar epithelial tissue, there we can see cilia. Okay, so cilia can be seen. Why? Because they help in the movement, they'll be helping in the pushing of the mucus forward. Okay, yes. Then comes the cuboidal epithelium, and these form the lining of kidney tubules and ducts of salivary glands, where these will be providing mechanical support, and sometimes a portion of the epithelial tissue folds inwards and a multicellular gland is formed, and this is called as a glandular epithelium. So cuboidal epithelium, they form the lining of kidney tubules and ducts of salivary glands, where they'll be providing mechanical support. And the 24th question is mention the role of each type of xylem cell for its function of water conduction. So there is tracheids and vessel, which is long, hollow, lignified for the water transport. And xylem fiber, they will be providing mechanical support. Xylem parenchyma, they will be storing food and they will be helping in the lateral transport. So this is important. Now the 25th question is what would happen if meristematic tissue in plant became inactive? Mention two major role of meristems. So growth would stop and no increase in length or thickness will take place when the meristematic tissue in plants will become inactive. And the wound healing and new organ formation like leaves, branches will not be occurring, and meristems will be producing new cells and helps in differentiation for various plant parts. Okay, that is the function of meristem. They are actively dividing cells. So if the like they became inactive, the growth will be stopping. There will be no increase in length or thickness will be taking place. And the 26th question is explain how the structure of neuron is adapted to its function. So a neuron or a nerve cell is specially structured to transmit electrical impulses quickly and effectively and efficiently throughout the body. And here is how its parts are adapted. There is a long axon. We know that there is a long axon which quickly carries the impulses over distances. And we know that there is dendrites, right? Yes. So there is dendrites. So dendrite, they'll be receiving signals from the other neuron. So it is dendrite, like this branch-like part, which will be receiving impulse from the other neurons. Yes. And cell body. So this is called as a cell body, which contain nucleus and organelles. Now the impulse, they'll be traveling from the dendrite. So it is a dendrite which will be receiving the impulse, and from there it will be traveling to the cell body, from there to the axon, and from there to the axon terminals. Okay, so this is how the impulse will be traveling. And this is important. Now the 27th question is, why is phloem transport considered bidirectional while xylem transport is unidirectional? Explain. So xylem moves water or minerals upward from root to leaves, that is unidirectional. In case of xylem, the water will be moving from root to leaves. Okay, root to leaves. We know that it is a root which is absorbing the water. So from root to leaves. In case of phloem, moves food from leaves to all parts, that is it is bidirectional, and phloem will be using ATP for active transport and xylem relies on physical forces. So in case of xylem, for the transportation of water it uses transpirational pull, and in case of phloem it will be using ATP for the transport of materials. In case of phloem, it's not like leaves are seen only in the top part. We can see leaves in the bottom part also. Okay. So it is both upwards. It's bidirectional in case of phloem, where in case of xylem, it is unidirectional. And the 28th question is, why do plant tissue have more dead cell compared to animal tissue? And how does this benefit the plant? So plants, they are stationary and they do not need rapid movements like animals. And dead cell, they'll be reducing energy requirement for maintenance and will be providing rigidity and support. Examples, sclerenchyma, xylem fibers in order to help plants stand upright and withstand environmental stress. So plants, they are stationary, they don't require much energy. In case of animal, they'll be wandering here and there for shelter, food and mate, so they require more energy. Now the 29th question is, what is areolar connective tissue? Explain two important functions in the human body. So areolar tissue is a loose connective tissue with fibers like collagen and elastin and different types of cells like fibroblast or mast cells. And the function is they'll be connecting skin to muscles and they'll be filling spaces between organ and will be helping in the repair of tissue, that is wound healing. So these are the functions of areolar connective tissue. And the 30th question is, why are smooth muscles called as involuntary? Where are they found and how are they structurally different from striated muscle? So smooth muscles, they are involuntary because they work without conscious control. Okay, they work without our consciousness. We can't control them. So example, in case of digestion and all, like in case of stomach and all, we can see the smooth muscle. Okay, in our internal organ, it is made up of smooth muscle. We can't control their activity, right? So they are found in the walls of internal organs like stomach, intestines and all, and structurally they are spindle shaped, they are uninucleated and lack of striations. Unlike striated muscle, which are cylindrical, multinucleated, and show bands. Okay, in case of striated muscle, their striation can be seen. A light and a dark band can be seen. They are cylindrical. They are multinucleated. Okay, but in case of smooth muscle, they are spindle shaped. They are uninucleated. They lack striation, and they are found in internal organs. And we cannot control it according to our own will. So this is the difference between smooth and striated muscle. And I hope the questions discussed is clear for you. So that's all for today. Thank you.